Okay, it says I'm live. Hello, I'm here to do part two of that person abilities assessment. Today we're going to do temperament and neurology. So, intelligence is your operating system, and the one I got yesterday, the result was architect. Culture is your software, and I got naturalist, and today I'm going to find out the temperament, which is your packaging. I guess it'd be like the persona that we've talked about on here before, and neurology, which is your hardware. So we'll find all about that. Uh, by the way, tonight is our weekly Zoom at 7 p.m. Central. You're welcome to drop by. Just shoot me an email, primalhex@gmail.com, or on Twitter. And tomorrow, the PF Young show, we're going to have PF Young and Rowan talking about the trans kids issue. And after that, we're going to do an after show discussion on the Discord. You can contact me for an invite to that. And then after that, we're going to try to watch the Waking Life movie. It's Richard Linklater's animated. It's rotoscope. So they filmed it live, and then he had several different animators animate over the live footage, and each scene is by a different animator. So it's really good. It's one of those philosophy talk movies. So I highly recommend it. If you want to participate in any of that, just shoot me an email. Okay, let's get into temperament. I'm not going to share my screen today. I think it's better to not have people just looking at a screen the whole time. I instinctively take charge of groups. I don't. Okay, here's the deal with that one. I instinctively can take charge of groups if it's needed. I prefer a collaborative mode of working, or like co-creating where everybody contributes. But if something needs to get done and nobody's doing it, or doesn't know how to do it, I am usually the one that ends up stepping in to that role. And I don't like taking that role. I don't like being an authority. I don't like being in charge. I don't like telling people what to do. But if I have to, I suppose I instinctively can. I think I told y'all, like, growing up in grade school, all the kids would come to me when they wanted to play something, to help organize some game or activity or something. I was the one they would always come to, and I was really good at that. So I suppose, plus I am the architect. So I suppose when groups need taking charge of, I can instinctively do so. I'll put a 5. I prefer being in a supportive role rather than being in the spotlight. Yes, 7. Absolutely. I love being in support. That's my whole profession, is support. I'm quick to return to my normal emotional state. If I'm angry or surprised, I quickly moved on. Here's the deal. Now, today, with all of the techniques and mental health work that I've done and learned, yes. If you asked me that 5 years ago, 8 years ago, I would say no. So that is a testament to the progress that you can make if you do effective mental health work and self-care. So I am going to put a 5 for that one, because it's still not perfect. I'm uniquely vulnerable due to my strong capacity for emotion. Vulnerable to what? I wish I knew. I'm vulnerable to social ostracization. I'm vulnerable to being misinterpreted, having my intense emotions misinterpreted as aggression or threat, or irrationality. So I guess because there's a range of things I could be vulnerable to due to that, I will put a 5 there as well. Most people are not aggressive enough. I think so, especially in this day and age. I think people are getting less and less aggressive or assertive and more timid. So I'll put a 7 for that. Growing up, I was told that I acted very mature for my age. No, I don't even get told that now. People are surprised to find out I am the age that I am. I have that. It shows up a lot in autism, that childlike quality, or childish, some people would say, quality. I tell people all the time, I feel like a teenager trapped in the body of a 52-year-old. So no, I will definitely put. I'll put a one. I was told I was smart for my age, but never mature. I often forget or misplace personal items. I mean, every now and then I forget where I laid my key or something. I'll put a one. I love when people share their raw, honest, and vulnerable feelings. Hell to the yes, yes. I love raw. I think I told you at one time there was this lady that was studying Cajun music, and she was looking at the lyrics, and she said she was struck by how raw and fierce they were. And I thought that was just the perfect description of me and my people. Um, Raw. I like that. And I like that emotional authenticity, raw authenticity. I love being in an all-consuming state of focus during a sports game, competition, or pursuing my hobby. The zone, yes, that's where I'm most productive and most creative. If I can get into my zone, things will happen. Yes, seven. I consider myself to be extremely careful, focused, and attentive to my surroundings. No, I'm pretty oblivious to my physical surroundings, my social surroundings. Growing up, I got into so many. I almost drowned. I stepped on snakes a couple of times. My stepfather had to shoot. Like, I'd be walking in the woods and he'd say, "Jeff, don't move." And you'd hear the gun go off and a snake would fly up like just a few feet in front of me. I've almost fell off of a cliff thing. We had a big bayou with these big kind of dirt cliffs. I almost fell off of. Very, I have dyspraxic, very clumsy, not careful, not focused on my surroundings at all, not attentive. I'll put a one because I do it. I'm proud of how much I do it because I've survived as long as I have. But it's I no, that's you don't put me in any situation where your safety depends on me being able to pay attention to what's around me. I love to do fun things that others might consider to be immature for my age. Yes. Yes, like jumping on trampolines. When I'm at a park and they have a swing set, I will be on those swings. And in college we used to take our boom we had is the 80s boom box down to the river, and they had a park with some swing sets at night. It was like the goth crowd. And we would swing for hours at night and look at the river and listen to our goth music. And these were all college age kids. I love doing playgrounds, amusement parks, um, all kind of stuff. It does. The fact that it's for kids never stops me from doing it. I want a swing set in my yard now so I could swing as an adult. So yes, seven. I'm extremely sensitive to the emotions of those around me. Well, I got told recently I'm not sensitive at all because they were going out of their way to mask and I didn't pick up on it. Um, Depends on the emotion sometimes, and if it's an emotion or a mood, sometimes. I am a hyper empath. I'll put a five. And sometimes I'm aware that there is an emotion or there's an emotional change, but I'm just indifferent to it because I'm of the belief, and I've said this many times, that psychologically mature adults are responsible for their own emotion. So just because you're having an emotion and I'm aware of it, that doesn't mean I need to pay attention to it or do anything about it. That's for you to manage and take care of. And I try to do the same with mine. So I will put a five for this one. I'll put a six. When people tell me I can't do something, it just gives me motivation to prove. Yes, one of the best ways to motivate me is tell me I can't do something, and then watch your face crack. I will put a seven. I can't work in a messy, untidy, or disorganized space. I can't work in filth, like dirt and grime and grot, and grossness. But I can work in chaos. I can work. I'm not that disorganized, but if I'm in someone else's office and they're, I've been in many professors' offices that are just chaotic, all over the place. I can work in those fine. So Depends on what they mean by messy. I'll put a one because I disagree. I don't understand why so many people have to be so serious and boring. This test gets me so much. That's a seven. Why? What happened in your childhood? What kind of parents did you have? What's wrong with you? It normally takes me a long time to get over feelings. I may hold grudges or feel anxious for quite a while. Again, I've gotten a lot better at that. Sometimes it would last for weeks, maybe months, and now sometimes I can get over it in an hour or less. So I would put a five for that. I enjoy being the life of the party. I don't think I am the life of the party. Back when I used to drink, I used to be able to cut up with people a lot. I wouldn't say I was the life of the party. I would say I was pretty outrageous at parties, but I don't know if it was in a way that people necessarily welcomed. Although some of them were entertained by it, especially when I first started drinking. When I'm on certain drugs, I can be, but just ordinarily, like I don't think anybody says, "Oh, we got to invite Jeff to the party. He's so much fun. It wouldn't be a party without him." I don't think that is me. I'll put a two. I'm very sensitive to my physical surroundings. Clothing sounds like no. I there could be a gorilla or an elephant like in the room walking through the wall, and I might not even notice unless it steps on me. I'm really that oblivious. When I lived in Vegas, because there's constantly construction in Vegas, they're always building new things, and there'd be like a big, giant, pink neon building, and we'd be driving, and I'd be like, "Oh, is that one of the new casinos?" And they'd be like, "No, that's been there for like 20 years," and I'm just noticing it for the first time. How could I have missed that big, giant, neon pink building the whole time and think it was something new? That happens to me all the time. So I will say no, I'll put a one. I'm not sensitive to my physical strength. I'm very low in S and high in N on the MBTI. I would enjoy a friend or partner surprising me by saying we're going on a 10-day trip and you have 15 minutes to pack your things. I've done this before. Many times that's how I ended up moving to Austin. My friend stopped by to tell me bye, and like 15 minutes later, I was in the car with her with my shit packed. Um, all the time. Yes, I'm dying for a road trip. If somebody wants to go on a road trip, please come and do this. Come show up to my house and give me 15 minutes to throw my shit in the car and let's go. I largely prefer to communicate in subtle ways, tone of voice, eye movements, body language, innuendo. I'm going to let y'all guess the answer to this one. And if you guessed zero, you would be correct. I hate that. I think that is the one of the worst ways for somebody like me, autistic on the spectrum, autistic people in general, to communicate. Don't try to give us little subtle hints. The people that have helped me the most in my life are the ones that have sat me down and just bluntly gave it to me raw. You kid, you're fucking up. You're being an asshole. Knock it off. I need that really blunt, direct communication, like underline with a highlight marker and the spotlights pointed at it, everything, for it to finally make the light bulb go off. I feel like I can easily talk to anyone about anything. I don't know if they can easily listen or receive or comprehend, but I could definitely easily talk to them about it. I think decisions and situations through over and over again. Not really. It depends on the decision. I'll go over situations a lot. Like I had a situation recently that I've been processing all week. So I'll do stuff like that because I learn from them. But usually when I make a decision, I go, it's made at that point. The waveform has collapsed. I don't try to go back and second guess or what if I did this. I'll put a four for this. I consider myself to be extremely adaptable. I'm open to moving to a new country, learning a new language, getting a job in a new field. More or less, like I'm open to adventure. I like trying new things. I thought about getting a supplemental job until my business takes off to the level that I want it to. Like just doing manual labor, like or something mindless, like assembly line or factory work, just something manual that I don't have to, I can disengage my brain and just get immersed in the physical. Something about that really appeals to me. So yeah, I'll put a I'll put a 6 for this. I guess I do have some limits on it. I value people who are calm, graceful, and always think before they act. No, I wonder about them. Um, that's kind of how they are up here. It's like the PBS or NPR style. Everything is so pleasant and calm and graceful and kind of lifeless, or I don't know, it comes across as artificial, conformist, like ASMR type style. I value people. I mean, I still value them as people. I don't overly value that style. I mean, I can live with it. It's not. It doesn't grate under my skin. But I'll put a 2. I'm a very exciting person to be around. God, depends on who you ask. I get every range of feedback you can imagine. I'm boring. I'm dull. I'm fascinating. I'm interesting. I'm exciting. It really depends on who you ask, what their background is, what world they're coming from, and how much I contrast with that. Um, yeah, I think I don't go out of my way to be super exciting. I'm just very in the moment. I just react however I react in the moment, passionately. I'll put a 4. Following a daily routine is very important to me. Nah, 0. I'm bad at sit. There's almost nothing that I need a routine to do that I can't do without a routine. So I'd rather just do it. The routine is just an extra layer of fluff that gets in the way. I'm bad at sitting in one place, doing one thing for long stretches of time. I often feel an urge to move around, fidget, or do something. Well, the stimming, and you'll see me rock on this podcast all the time. I'm not aware that I'm rocking, like I'm doing it now because I'm talking about it. But normally I'm not aware. And when I watch myself back, I'm surprised at how much I rock because I'm not even conscious I'm doing it. Another thing I do is I'll itch myself or scratch myself, and I'm not feeling any itch at all. I don't know what that is. When y'all see me do this on the Zoom, it is not me scratching because I am not. Nothing is itching, and I'm not even aware that my hands are even doing that. So when I watch it back and I see that, I'm like, "What are you doing? You never itched the entire Zoom." I would remember itching. So I don't know. My arms and body have a life of their own. So this one, I'll say. I mean, I can sit in one place if I need to. I'm not averse to it, but I am energetic. I do like to have that outlet when I need it. I'll put a 6. I'm naturally a very trusting individual. Yes, way too trusting. I'm really good at pulling back my trust once I realize that I should not have invested as much trust as I did. I'm really good at like reversing course really quickly, but sometimes it takes a while for that realization to set in. I love showcasing my incredible abilities, skills, or past accomplishments to others. I think I have a modest pride in my accomplishments only because I know all the shit I had to overcome. Like I have obstacles and barriers that a lot of normal people don't necessarily have. I have some advantages too, and I'm not unmindful of those. But like for me to pull off some of the things that I pulled off were milestones for me that might just be a routine accomplishment for somebody else. So for that reason, when I do take pride, it's like starting the business. I'm so proud of. I never thought I'd be a business owner, and I'm very proud of myself that I managed to pull it off somehow. So it's not an arrogant pride, but it is like a modest awareness of how much I had to overcome to accomplish. So if that's showcasing incredible ability, skills, or past accomplishments, I don't. I mean, I do that to somebody. I don't think I'm a braggart. I'll put a 4 just because if I frame it the right way, I think this is a positive thing. People like acknowledging your strengths and owning your strengths. I am often the first one to notice if something is wrong or out of place. Sometimes. Here's how my attention pattern works. I'm oblivious to many details, but I'll home in on little tiny details that a lot of other people won't even notice. So my focus is very idiosyncratic as to what I notice and don't notice. And Some things I think that are obvious to other people, I'm the only one noticing, and other things that everybody else is noticing, I'm the only one not noticing. So sometimes for that reason, I do notice if something is wrong or out of place. Like I'm good at patterns and memory, so if I see enough patterns and can reference it to my past memory, I can usually tell if something's off pretty quickly. I'll put it 3, 4. It says I'm often the first one. I don't know if I'm the first one. I'll put it 3. I typically remain optimistic and hopeful even when everything is going wrong. Believe it or not, I do. As much as I've been through, as cynical as I've become, I still have this naive optimism about human beings, about life, about the future. I'm going to put a 5. That's how bad I think it is. It's good for people in relationships to always rely on each other. I don't know. Something bothers me about prescribing that so dogmatically. Like you must rely on each other. I think there's benefits and advantages to have someone that you can rely on, but I don't think it's mandatory for a good relationship. I'm going to put a 2. I feel very in control of my physical environment. Well, considering my physical environment is my bedroom, yes, I'm pretty in control of what happens here. The temperature, the light level, the noise level, who comes in, who stays out. So yeah, I'll put a 6. I spend a lot of time thinking about my physical safety and self-preservation. Almost never. Seriously, I'm so I don't think about that at all. That's why I get in all the dangers that I do, because I'm so oblivious to that. I rarely get embarrassed when I interact with large groups of people. Sometimes, like I have a lot of socially awkward moments, and I mean I've learned to live it now. When they happen, I just I know they're going to happen, and I expect them. So I know I can predict the reaction and the outcome and all that, but they would throw me off a little bit in the past because I didn't know why people were reacting like they were. But I wouldn't say it's embarrassment. I'll put it 2. Time flows by much more quickly when I'm spending it with a group of people. I was on a Zoom last night till like 2 a.m. Yeah, time stops. Like when I'm engaged with another human being and we're in that flow, I do kind of it's kind of a timeless experience for me. So yeah, I'll put a 6. My physical comfort is very important to me. No, I'll put a 1. Like I seriously, after I lost Mike, I would go out in the desert. I had a pillow, a toothbrush, some water, a little bit of food, and that's it. That's all I needed. And I was just sleeping on the ground, under the stars, or on a rock at night. And I love that. And once I started rejoining civilization, I wanted the bare minimum necessary. Like I didn't want a big room. I wanted a little tiny small space that just big enough for me. I wanted like just a pillow and a blanket. I didn't want a lot of creature comforts. I was like, I had like been stripped down to my raw essentials, and I wanted to build back up very slowly from there. And so I've always lived rustic. No, like growing up, I was always the kid that, even though I was the oldest, for some reason, I would get the pallet on the floor or the sofa bed, or there were several places I lived. Let me tell you what my bedrooms were. It was a little pull out pallet thing in the foyer. And if I didn't wake up early enough, it was right under the mail slot. The mailman would come and drop the mail on my head. I had a pallet in one house under the dining table. So at night, I would go take my little pallet and pillow and lay it out under the dining table. And that was my sleeping space. So I'm the kid that always gets stuck in those very, let's say, down home sleeping spaces. So I grew up learning to manage my expectations around physical comfort. I don't need a bunch of luxury and foo-foo stuff. So I will put a 1 on that. I frequently do or say things that make people laugh. Not intentionally. Like when I'm intentionally trying to be humorous, I know it. But a lot of times people will laugh and I don't have no idea why they're laughing because I was being completely serious. But for some reason, it's like either this awkward laughter or they're interpreting in a way that they find humor in that I'm not aware of when I'm saying. But I wouldn't say it's frequently. I'll put a 3, maybe a 2. I find it easy to capture a group's attention to lead them to do something. No, I struggle. Nobody listens to me. And like when people are talking and I try to talk, they always talk over me. Like it's hard for me to grab that mic long enough to keep people's attention with it. Either my speaking style or my voice. I was in speech as a kid. I had an articulation disorder. So the fact that I can even communicate at all is an accomplishment for me. And I told you yesterday I won some ribbons for public speaking. And I don't know how I pulled that off. So I will put a 1 for here. When I absolutely have to, I will. And my peer mentor taught me a little trick. When she's on a Zoom and she needs to get our attention, she'll do this. And then everybody will stop talking. So she doesn't have to verbally try to grab the attention. She can visually grab it. I care very little about what other people think of me. Yes. People I respect, and respect is a very specific emotion. It doesn't develop often, and it develops for just very few set of people. But when that respect kicks in, I tend to care more about what they think than anyone else. But most people, I grew up just not caring. I grew up in a very small town. Most of the people were not that bright. They had opinions about homosexuality and the music I was into and all kind of other stuff. And I learned to ignore all. Why would I take any of their opinions seriously? They weren't right about anything else. Why would I think that they know something about that? So I grew up kind of knowing not to take the people around me seriously. They didn't have a lot of credibility with me. And especially strangers. It really amazes me how much stock people put in what strangers think of them. I've never developed that psychology. So yes, I will put 7 for this. I've gone through so many unique experiences that it can be hard to relate to others, yes. But at the same time, I'll put a 6. It continues to surprise and amaze me how many people I meet and talk to that do have the similar experiences and can relate. So, I mean, that's a blessing of itself. And I guess the more I talk to people and the more people I talk to, the less weird I find that I am. As weird as I know that I am on the surface. There's plenty of other weirdos out there having the same experiences. How other people feel about me strongly impacts how I feel about myself. No, not even people that are close to me. I'm really good at boundaries between my internal world and other people's internal world. Even if my best friend felt a certain type of way about me that I didn't agree with, I don't think it would affect me. I'd be like, well, that's their feeling. And I have mine. I conserve my energy by limiting certain interactions with others, ignoring an exhausting acquaintance or coworker, etc. No. I mean, some depends on the person. I tend to filter the unhealthy people out of my life, so I don't really. I don't know if it's to conserve energy; it's to conserve mental health. But so, and I do limit my interactions with people that I've filtered out. But the motivation is not conservation of energy. I guess maybe I'll put a 3. I appreciate funny people that don't worry about offending others. Oh, yes. Can we get more of them? Where are these people? We used to be able to, like, I grew up with Eddie Murphy, and he would tell, I don't know if YouTube will let me say him, although they let Eddie Murphy say him. He'd tell jokes about gay people and black people and religious people, any type of group you can think of. He had a joke about it. And we grew up all listening to it and laughing at it together. It was fun. It was fun. I think it's healthy to be able to offend and use humor. And It's liberating. I think it's an index to how captured or oppressive a society is that you can't do that. And my favorite comedian, one of my favorite comedians, is Tom Segura, and he's the one that made those awful racist joke about Cajuns. He did it once, and he got a lot of controversy over it. So, like in his next show, he went and threw some more Cajun jokes in there, and they were just as funny. And I loved it. Even though I'm Cajun, I laughed right along with those jokes because they were so damn funny. I'm very sensitive to a group's overall experience and will try to make the social atmosphere as positive as possible. No, I try to make it as healthy as possible, but I know human nature. I know how people are, so I don't try to artificially create an environment that's not authentic to what's happening with the individuals in the group at that time. I don't have like Disney G-rated groups. They get very raw and fierce. Sometimes if conflict breaks out, we work through it. I don't try to shut it down. I'm not avoidant. Like, I think psychologically mature adults can talk things out and fight things out and argue things out if they have to. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean we're not all friends afterwards. I'm pretty oblivious. I run a lot of groups, and unless people tell me what experience they're having, I'm not aware. They keep coming back, so I assume they're having a positive experience, but I'm not going out of my way to make it any certain way or being sensitive in the moment to how people are experiencing it. I'm just kind of going with the group energy. I'll put a 2 on this one. I exercise restraint in conversations. I listen more than I speak and don't overshare. I hate the word overshare. Over for who? Who is this third party that's deciding it's over something? It's exactly the amount of sharing for the person sharing. If the listener doesn't want to hear it, that doesn't make it oversharing. I love to listen. People talk to me for hours about anything. I'm fascinated by all of it. And if I need to talk about something, I talk about it. If they don't want to listen, they don't have to listen, but I'm not going to not share. So I'm going to put a 0 for this. I often feel like my behavior or thoughts conflict with what is socially acceptable. Yeah. Although less than I would think. Because sometimes I'll say, I was always taught that speak whatever's on your mind, because even though you think you're the only one thinking or feeling it, if you put it out there, you're going to find that other people are thinking or feeling similar. So for that reason, I kind of open the door for other people to start, seeing if they feel the same way, or to share their thought, even if it's not the same. And so I'm kind of like that little seed. Wait, what was the question? Often. I'm kind of like that little seed that opens up people to start disclosing the same thing that I'm thinking and noticing and just kind of sitting on. So for that reason, I don't really behavior that I think is in conflict with what is socially acceptable turns out to not really be, because it's also the same thing that several other people in the group are thinking too, just not saying. So do I often feel like it's in conflict? Yes, but it doesn't actually always often tend to be in conflict. So I'll put a 6 for this. I do a very good job of looking good in front of others. No, I'm horrible at that. I can put on, like for work, I can put on a professional persona a little bit when I need to. And the work I do, I'm not talking about with clients, because I don't put on a persona for clients. I'm very real, pretty much like you see me here. But in the other work I do, I have to put on a slightly more professional or neutral persona. But I'm only doing it for like a few minutes at a time, because I'm interacting with a series of people for very short, discrete moments of time. If I had to keep it up for like hours, I may not be able to. When I receive personal criticism, I always feel the need to justify my actions or performance to others. First of all, there's 2 types of criticism. Criticism I care for people I care about, and criticism from people I don't give a shit what they think. If it comes from the second class, I don't always bother to explain it or justify it. If it comes from the first class, I try to at least make the attempt to give them an understanding of why. It goes back to trauma-informed care and understanding behavior. I try to give them a window on why that behavior is what it is, or whatever they're criticizing is what it is, to kind of maybe expand their perspective or give them some insight. I don't push it or go out of my way. I'll make one or two attempts to help them understand it, and if they don't want to or can't, then I let it go. People can think whatever they want. If they have a criticism, it's up to me whether I internalize it or take it personally. They are free to have all the criticism they want. So I guess I'll put a 2. I sometimes feel the need. They say justify. I say explain, depending on who the criticism's coming from. I'm always the first to bring up new or interesting topic of conversation. No, in the groups I'm hanging out with lately. By the way, I have Zooms on Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is PF Jung, and we do the after show. And in a few weeks, when I get back from the Mankind weekend, I'm considering adding a Wednesday and Thursday Zoom as well. So eventually Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all opportunities to Zoom and have conversations in addition to all the spontaneous conversations that have been arising on Discord. In all of that, there are so many people bringing up new and interesting topics. Like every person in these conversations, I'm always hearing something new or interesting. So I don't even have to always be the person to bring up the new interesting thing anymore. I can kind of just sit back and let it bubble up from all of these conversation networks that I'm becoming a part of. So for that reason, I'm going to I'll put a 3, because sometimes I'll bring up something that I don't even realize it's new to them. I think it's just something. Of course, I'm about a generation older, so I think it's something that's just culturally embedded, and a lot of the younger generation will be hearing it for the first time or not be aware of it at all. I would never cause a scene in a social setting. I'll cause a scene in a second, because it takes more than one person to cause a scene. So if I'm causing a scene, there's other people contributing to that scene besides just me. I can a lot of times try to shift the scene to be a healthier scene instead of a dysfunctional scene. Like that drama triangle I talk about, there's a healthy version of it that if you have the know-how, when you notice the dysfunctional version happening, you could shift to the healthy version, but it takes all of the parties involved to be able to do that. And if the other people can't do it, it's kind of hard for just one person to shift a scene. But as far as never causing one, I have no problem confronting, speaking out, calling things out, let people know what's on my mind. And if that causes a scene, then so be it. But it's there's a greater purpose behind it. So I'll put a 5 for that one. I'm a very driven person. I have a strong desire to realize my goals. I am driven. I don't have a lot of goals right now that I'm just burning to realize, other than to get this community off the ground. But I take a more leisurely approach to that. I'll put a 5. I typically let others guide the conversation. More or less. Conversations to me are organic. They kind of have this life of their own. So it's not that I'm letting others guide. I'm just following where the conversation is going. I'll put a 5 for that one too. Or I'll put a 6. I'm a naturally very fast eater. I think so. Yeah, I'm not big. Eating is something I do because I have to do it. It's just like sleeping. I hate to sleep. I sleep as little as possible. I do it to get it over with, and then I can go back to my life. I almost never get angry, upset, or frustrated by negative circumstances outside my control. Yeah, I'm pretty good about. I'll put a 6. Usually, if something's out of my control, I can adjust to it pretty quick, like reality, pretty quickly. I might have a negative feeling about it, but I can mentally or intellectually adjust to the reality of it and consequently adjust my emotions to it eventually. I enjoy highly charged or emotional conversations. Yes, I call that passion. I was on a Zoom the other day, and some of us were getting to a debate, and there was a person on there that said how they didn't like conflict, and this felt like conflict. And I've had that happen before, where especially with Southerners. Me and my Southern roommate at one time were getting into a passionate debate, and a friend of ours from Michigan was over at the house, and he's like, "Stop fighting!" And we both looked at him at the same time, and we're like, "We're not fighting. Did you think we were fighting?" No, I didn't think we were fighting. It's not a fight. So what can look like conflict to other people is just those passionate, emotionally charged conversations that I like. I never have a problem with speaking too fast. I always speak at a normal speed. Some people tell me I speak too slow. Some people do find that I speak fast. It depends on the person. I don't know what to compare it to. Like, I don't know how to speak like this. It seems too slow and robotic. But I don't think I talk like this either, like super fast, gotta get on like either. So I think I speak at a moderate pace. I'll put a 5, put a 6. My boss the other day told me, she says, because we do a lot of speaking on this job, she says, you have probably the best speaking voice of anybody that I work with. And I was shocked. People used to make fun of how I talk. There's this gaming group I was in, and they called, my nickname was the one with the voice. I have no idea what that means, but apparently that's how they identified me. And so my voice and my speech has always attracted negative attention in a lot of groups. So I was shocked to get that kind of feedback. I'm often the first one to change the topic to something I feel strongly about. No, I can usually get interested in almost anything. And as long as the conversation's going and people are into it, I change the topic if it seems relevant to what's going on, but not because it's something I feel strongly about. I'm going to put a 1 on this. I enjoy discussing normal topics like work, sports, TV shows. Not really sports. I would only discuss work either with someone I worked with, or if the work that I do was somehow related to the conversation. Like if it's a conversation about mental health, I might talk about some of the mental health work that I do. I like to talk about TV shows and movies and books and culture. So yeah, I'll put a 6. I would enjoy discussing politics, religion, scientific discoveries, or even conspiracy theories with someone I just met. I do that all the time. Like I said, I stayed on until 2 a.m. talking with a new person I just met about all of this. I think we covered every one of these topics. I hate standing out from the crowd. I'm so used to it. I don't even notice anymore when I'm in the crowd and out of the crowd. I'll put a 0. I will be my authentic self regardless of how other people react. Absolutely. Yes. Ooh, I got the result. Okay, here it is. I am the adventurer. Adventurers are among the most... Here, I'll share this part of the screen. See, I could read along. Adventurers are among the most explorative of people. They have quick and powerful personalities that love to explore different possibilities, life in the fast lane, go through all that life has to offer. They're bubbly extroverts who love to say yes to the opportunities that life affords them. That's me. They look at the world with a wonderful, childlike curiosity, with an incredible sense of awe. I do a lot of things. I'm very easily dazzled. Adventurers will often see the best in others and in every situation that they encounter. Glass half full. Intensely positive. I wouldn't say I'm intensely positive in the face of adversity. Highly value their individuality, freedom, self-determination. Yes, those are my watchwords. Like I build entire communities around those specific values: autonomy, individuality, personal freedom, and self-determination. They're quick, they think quick, act quick, feel things. Yes, I'm very fast. Yes, that speed. Other people see them going through different possibilities and might even consider them to be impulsive or impetuous. They can think whatever they want. I'm having the adventure. But to the adventurer, they had plenty of time to consider what they wanted. Some of the most independent people, they can sometimes be hard for people to understand. They rarely need the approval of others if they made up their mind. Yep. Humorous, funny, intuitive, quick-witted. The world would be a far less interesting place without their presence. Oh. So that was my packaging or persona, or outward, how I appear to the world according to this personability system. Okay. I'm going to try to speed through this last one, which is on neurology, and this is your hardware, like how your brain processes things. Oh, so let's get it going. Gotta fill out their little questionnaire. I am comfortable making quick judgments about people, things, or ideas if it helps me get things done. Yeah, like I make quick judgments all the time, and they're more or less right, but sometimes I'm wrong, or they need revising, or I was mistaken in a few points. So when I make them, I'm aware that they're just like a little quick heuristic that I'm using, and they're not a final judgment about the people. But yeah, I'll say 5. I strongly dislike punishing or harming other people in any way. I don't have a problem punishing people if they deserve it. Not sadistic punishment, but like kicking someone out of a group or something like that. But in general, I don't like hurting other people. Strongly dislike. I'll put a 5. I strongly prefer subjects that always have clear right answers, such as math. No, I like the open-ended stuff. Every situation has winners and losers. I always aim to be a winner. No. First of all, I'm not really always aware that there's even a competition. Now, when I play board games, I play to win. And I'm telling you right now, I will not cheat. I will not go outside of the rules. It's very important for me to win within the rules. But I will do everything within those rules to win. I will lie, backstab, betray, cheat, bluff, whatever. I will push my grandma into the front of a car, whatever I have to do in the game to win. I get very competitive in the context of a board game, and I will do anything to win, and I don't care. But in general, like living about life, no. I put a 2, maybe even a 1. If something is mysterious, odd, or doesn't make sense, I always ask why, constantly. Because that's how my brain works. I know when things don't make sense. It's like the record scratch. And I know when the record scratch happens and something all of a sudden doesn't make sense. And I cannot, everything freezes at that point. I cannot move forward cognitively until I get it to make sense. Like you might as well just stop whatever you're doing or stop talking or try to explain. Because until I can restore some sense, nothing else can happen inside of my brain. And so I notice that all the time, and I always need to find out why. Everyone and everything is universally connected and ultimately part of one whole. Well, conceptually, yes. Experientially, it doesn't always seem that way. I don't know. This is such an abstract question. I'll put a 3. I have a fascination for numbers. Not really. I mean, I like some of the pure mathematics, like the artistic, creative, elegant side of it. But I'm not a numbers geek, and I'm not hypernumerative. I put a 1. I can't stand when other people break rules. No, a lot of times I admire them for it. And unless like, it's in a board game. Like I can't stand playing with cheaters or people that break agreed upon rules that keep an activity functioning. But if it's arbitrary rules that they're kind of creatively accommodating themselves to, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm going to put a 2 for this. In the long term, people are better off when they follow prescribed societal roles based on age, sex, or other demographic characteristics. I don't even know what that means. I'm going to put a 0. Society must overcome all differences that divide us, income inequality, religious beliefs, in order for true social equality to exist. No, those are natural. They're always going to be there. Hierarchies are always going to be there. This is that idealized, unrealistic view of human nature that the utopians and progressives base their agendas on. I believe that society should always try to create the best outcomes for the greatest number of people. I mean, I'm not a strict utilitarian, but I mean, more or less, try to do the greatest amount of good you can. I'll put a 3. People should be valued for their hard work and individual success. Yes. 7. Making quick generalizations about other people is a sign of intelligence. Not necessarily, but it can be. It depends on how accurate you are. I'll put a 2. People who claim that there are broad cognitive differences between different groups of people, races, or sexes are incorrect. I don't know about cognitive differences unless you count like emotional processing as cognitive, but I do notice differences between males and females and how they react to certain stimulus and handle conflict and their sense of threat, harm, safety. And I just can't get around it. I see it so often every single day of my life. I can't pretend like it's not there. Let's see. No, I don't think they're incorrect. I think it's a very nuanced, complex picture. I'll put a 3. I'll put a 2. I always look at all of the physical evidence before I come to any sort of conclusion. I don't know what they mean by physical evidence because a lot of it is intellectual evidence. Articles, rulings, papers, studies. I look at enough of the evidence that I need to look at to make me confident in my conclusion. I wouldn't say all. I'll put a 2. But I do go, I am very empirical. I do go off of what they're calling physical evidence. I always do what I make my mind up to do. Well, yeah, more or less. Once I decide something needs doing, I'm pretty much already in the process of doing it until it gets done. I'm good at conceiving and executing. Unless it depends on other people. That's where the issues come in, because if it involves, and a lot of my work does involve collaboration with others, that's where things get stalled. My mind is great at narrowing down possibilities until I find the best possible answer. I'm good at sifting through possibilities. I don't know about best possible answer. I could find a decent answer that I can offer as a possible solution. I can't guarantee it's going to be the best answer of all. I'll put a 5. I believe in following my truth. Something may be true for one person, but not another. Yeah, more or less. I'll put a 6 because I think there are some limits to that as well. My mind is always coming up with random new ideas. Yes, there's a rational explanation for everything that happens. I think more than likely, yes, although we might not ever be able to always find out what it is. There's probably a rational explanation for even the irrational reactions that people have. If we look deep enough, they can be made intelligible. Now, I've worked in mental health, I've worked inpatient psych, and you see and hear things there that it seems sometimes there's no explanation for. But even that, I think if you dig deep enough, you could find some kind of explanatory root for it. I put a 6. I view the world in terms of archetypes, auras, and energies. I'm constantly thinking about things beyond the physical world, metaphysics. No, that's one of my archetypes, yes. But I have a hard time sensing energy and vibes and people that navigate by that stuff. That's invisible to me. I have no idea what they're going off of. I'm going to put a 1. Or should I put a 2 because of archetypes? I'll put a 1. I frequently find myself fantasizing. I'm often more focused on possible or imagined realities than my current reality. I would say yes. I'm very guilty of this. It's hard for me to stay focused in the now. All the exciting stuff is happening um, around the corner, unless I'm in my zone, and then it's all happening in the now. I will put a 6 or 7. 7. I'm really good at seeing new patterns by connecting new dots of information. I think so. I'll put a 6 because I mean I may not be perfect at it. I'm very intuitive. I can accurately predict what will happen. It surprises me. I've said this so many times. My whole life is telling people what's going to happen with this person, or what's going to happen if they do this, and they don't listen to me. And this exact same the thing happens exactly like I said it was going to happen. Some of that's just experience and knowing people and noticing patterns, but I think some of it is intuition. On my MBTI, I'm telling you, my N is very, very high, and my S is very, very weak. So yeah, I'll put a 6. I enjoy thinking about paradoxes. I frequently harmonize seemingly contradictory information. Yeah, I love synthesizing into larger wholes. It is more ethical to prioritize human emotions over concrete results. No. That's that feeling over fact thing. And people, if the locus of control is internal on you and your agency, you should be able to determine what happens with your emotions. You should be able to prioritize that. Other people should not have to have that responsibility. I'm going to put a 1. It is wrong for society to tell me what to do or who I can become. Yes. People will have free will. We're in complete control of our actions. I don't know about complete. I think there's influence. There's genetic, biological, physiological influences, cognitive influences, social, environmental. But, and that's the third factor, we have the ability to evaluate and decide how we want to act under the influence of all of the other factors. I'll put a 6. I frequently wonder what life is like in far off places or what it was like in the distant past. I do think about history a lot and try to use my historical imaginations to imagine life at other times and places. So I guess I'll put a 6. Karma is real. People will always end up getting what they deserve. No. I don't believe in an automatic justice or karma. Sometimes they do. I've seen really evil people screw others over and get away with it and live completely consequence-free lives. And I've seen good people get shit on and never get justice. I think justice happens because other humans, it's important enough for them to make happen. But I don't think it just happens by some invisible force in the universe. Put a 1. It's all silly. It's silly to say everything happens for a reason. The world is inherently chaotic and random. I more or less think that. I mean, there's patterns to it, but they're patterns that our brain make. I don't know if they're patterns that are actually out there. I'll put a 5. There exists an absolute reality independent of anyone's views or beliefs, like objective reality. Probably, but the only access we'll ever have to it as humans is through our own mind, our own mental processes. I mean, I'm pragmatically a solipsist. The sum total of the reality that I will ever know begins and ends with my personal consciousness. I'll never know a universe outside of that. And I think that's true for everybody. But I think there is a common field of experience that we draw from. We can communicate about. We have shared intuitions and perhaps even sensations about. All this, the sensations are occurring in the individual human brain. I'll put a 5. I'll put a 6. I'm always extremely eager to learn and find more information. Yeah, I'm so nosy. I want to know. I got to know everything about everything. Love is more important than truth. I You need to choose one or the other. Is this like don't tell someone the truth if you love them because it's going to hurt their feelings? Like for me, the love and the truth were they were kind of one. This is like a semantic, an artifact of semantics because love, love and truth are not in conflict. I don't see them in conflict. I'll put a 3 because I don't really know how to tease out this question. I rarely spend much time inside of my head. I don't know where else I'm ever at other than inside my head. I put a 0. I'm extremely dutiful person with high personal integrity. I always fulfill my expected role, even if no one else is looking or not. Yes, yes, I think so. Yes, I'll put a 6 just because I don't want to jinx it. Understanding theory is more important than having practical experience. No, experience. Everything is grounded in experience. The theory is nothing without the ability to embed it in some kind of concrete experience. I don't care if people are strange, eccentric, or even inappropriate times. You do you. Yes, absolutely. I don't care at all, especially people I work with on the spectrum. I have strong physical awareness of my surrounding environments at all times. We went through this on the last test. I put a 1. Anyone has the ability to change and be successful if they just work hard enough. I don't know. Do they have the motivation? 4, 5. I'm going to be a little more optimistic about the human species and say 5. I spend so much time in my head that I often feel detached from my body all the time. I have dissociation. I don't feel my body at all. I'm just this disembodied mind floating around. I'll do what I consider to be right, no matter what other people think about me. Yes, absolutely. I've lost jobs over this, fringe relationships. It's never stopped me, and I'm still going to keep doing it. I'm upset when others try to prevent me from having new or fun experiences. Hell yeah, what are you doing? Get out of my way. Why are you doing that? I feel morally superior when I sacrifice my time, work, or possessions for others. I do this all the time, by the way, all week long, and never once does it cross my mind to feel morally superior because of it. I feel like I'm participating in creating, in building society, creating community. It's almost a duty or a privilege to be able to do that as a human. I enjoy thinking about overarching theories that explain how part of the world works, scientific or economic. No, I don't have the patience for that. Put a like even stuff like personality typing. I'll put a 1. It bothers me when people try to explain complex ideas without nuance. How do they do it without nuance? Like I can't even imagine how you would explain a complex idea without bringing in nuance. So yeah, I guess it would bother me. Empirical data is much more important than anything else when seeking the truth. I am an empiricist. This is like that tension between empiricism and rationalism. I think it's the foundation of truth. I'll put a 6. I firmly believe that success comes from following a set of guiding principles. No, but I do think you can examine any individual success and abstract principles from that person's success, but I don't know that all of the principles will be identical or universal or line up exactly. So even though they're not following a set of principles, I think principles could be extracted from whatever path they did follow to get the success. But I'm going to put a 0. I think I'll put a 1. I usually remember my dreams. I don't pay attention to my dreams because I don't think they mean anything, but I usually do remember them. Put a 6. I usually check with other people to make sure my ideas are logically sound. not intentionally on purpose, but as part of like these conversations, I will start to be more aware of different ways of looking at my ideas that I might not have. But like I rarely go to someone and say, "Hey, does this make sense?" or "Help, tell me if this makes sense." But through conversation, I'll start to see some of the ways my ideas may not make sense or make more sense than I realized. And so it's kind of this informal process that sifts my ideas for logic. But I don't like intentionally go check in with other people to see if my ideas are logical or not, because I don't have ideas that are not logical. I don't really have a problem with logic. Usually when I'm thinking something, there's a logic to it. Like I may be wrong about some of the premises or even some of the conclusions, but the logic itself, the way the ideas are connected to each other and follow from each other, I usually don't have a problem with that. That's pretty sound. I'll put a one. I hate when I make perfectly logical points in a discussion only to have only to have other people unable to engage with them in a rational way. I don't hate it. I mean, I understand not everyone's going to be hyper rational or hyper logical. Um, it just tells me like that's not the person to have that conversation with. We can just talk about something else. Talk about movies or talk about their life. There's certain people I can have these discussions with, so I have plenty of people I can do that with. That's one reason I have the Zooms that I have, is most of us on there can do this, if not all. But it's not necessary. If like I realize like there's only a certain amount of people you could talk sports with or your favorite movie with if people haven't seen the movie. So it's kind of like that. And if they're not in that class category, I don't hate it. I just adjust to whatever category they are in. I'll put a I'll put a one. I'm so used to. I mean, my whole life growing up, until I got to the gifted school, I didn't have anybody around me that can engage with me in a rational way. My best friend a little bit could, so I'm used to being isolated in that without having that kind of outlet. I just turn to books in my own head for that. It's not good to have strong desires for specific outcomes or things. I mean, can you control your desire? You're going to have the desire you have. It's going to be at the strength or intensity that it's at. I think it's good to have preferences and like prepare for those preferences not being met. I'll put a two. I try to behave how my family expects me to behave. I don't even know how they expect me to behave. Honestly, I have no clue. But I do try to behave like I like my family, and I try to behave in a way that I think is going to reflect well on them. I want them to be proud to have me in the family. I don't know if they are, but I don't. We hardly ever talk or see each other anyway. It doesn't stop me from doing like I don't ever think, oh, let me not do this because it's gonna bring shame on my family. They are free to live their life just like I'm free to live mine, and I think we all understand and love each other despite or like beneath all of that. I'm gonna put a I'll put a two. I don't care what other people think of me. I do not. I highly value balance, moderation, and simplicity. No, although there is something to be said for simplicity at times. I'll put a one. I have no problem asking to speak to a manager when I have a customer service complaint. I don't have any problem. I did a whole episode on advocacy and how to go up the chain. And I'll give them one or two chances, and if not, I'm moving on to the next person. I'm never stuck with just the one person in front of me. There's always a chain you could go up or take it to social media. I find it easy to ignore other people no matter how irritating they are. A lot of practice about this with this, especially growing up. We had a big household, lots of friends over. It's a small town. There's always people. Everybody's in close proximity. Yeah, I'd say I'd say a 6, if not a 7. You know what? I'm going to put a 7. It is very easy for me to sit still and clear my head of all distractions. No, 0. I hate meditating, breathing. I did a Buddhist meditation one time. We sat in a dark room. They put a candle. You closed your eyes, and you had to sit in silence for 40 minutes. Just sit there in this room with people. That was one of the most painful things I've ever done in my life. But I was proud of myself because A, I did it, and B, when they called the 40 minutes, in my mind, subjectively, I thought we were at the 20-minute mark. I thought only 20 minutes had passed. So I'm surprised that I could sit there for 40 minutes and have it only feel like 20 minutes. And never again will I do something like that. I make sure to quickly respond to all texts or emails I receive. I'm pretty good at that. I like to clear out my inbox as they come in. If I'm busy or on a Zoom or doing something, it might have to wait till I get off, but I can get to it pretty quickly. Most of my emails will be answered within the hour or hour or two at the most. I frequently spend hours watching shows on television, Netflix, YouTube, or other streaming platforms. YouTube lately, there's almost nothing on the platforms anymore. And I haven't had TV in years, probably over a decade. But YouTube is where I'm finding all the interesting content now. And you can interact with each other. Like a lot of the people that have YouTube channels will come on our Zooms or Discord, or you'll interact with the comments. So it's more of a it's not this like creator or performer audience relationship. It's much more interactive and community based, which is a different way of consuming content than just streaming or watching television. I don't spend all of my day doing it. I'll put a 3. I am slow to judge other people. I mean, I do have I make quick judgment of people all the time, but I'm also slow to make any kind of final judgment until I get to know them really well. And even then, you never really know another person. You never really know yourself. I am slow to judge other people. I put a 3. Whether it be collecting physical items, I'm going to change that to a 4, or finding novel ideas on the internet, I'm always gathering new things. Not intentionally, my brain just absorbs, it just takes things in. I'm not consciously like, I have to get new things, but I'm constantly combing the internet or the books or the environment or whatever and taking in new things. So I guess I am always gathering new things. I'll do a 5. As I encounter new things or ideas, I have a strong need to organize them and place them where they belong mentally. I don't think I do this consciously. I think I just do it automatically or intuitively. But I am pretty good at taxonomy and classifying phenomena. And I do kind of enjoy doing that. I will put a 5 for that one. Maybe a 6. One thing that helped in my 20s, when I was into the occult, I started studying Kabbalah and the Tree of Life diagram. Really helped me. And all of a sudden, it kind of gave me a schema that everything I encountered could be like slotted onto the Tree of Life in some kind of way. So it became this organizing mental diagram that was very useful. And to this day, I could go back. I think in the back of my mind, I still kind of use the Tree of Life to organize phenomena, which is one of the things it was created for to begin with. I love coming up with new ideas, starting new projects, and hearing about new things. I like novelty. I like ideas, and I like starting projects. I would love some of them to. I don't need to constantly be doing new ideas. I just need to be doing good ideas and seeing those through to completion. And that's what doesn't always happen. A lot of it is ideas. Someone told me, because when I have an idea, I think it's actually going to happen. So if somebody says, "Hey, let's watch this movie," or "Let's go on a road trip," or "Let's go camping," I'm packing, or I'm popping the popcorn right then and there. I think it means it's actually going to happen. But people have had to tell me that people throw out ideas all the time, kind of just as a, I don't know, this social testing ritual, and they don't always intend to follow through with the ideas. It's just something that people do. And I have a hard time separating when people are serious about the ideas they're throwing out and when they're just doing this little ritual. Me, if I throw out an idea, I'm ready to do it. It's idea and act, almost. It's almost the same event. So if I could find people that had ideas and could execute them as quickly as they could throw them out, I don't know. I think a lot of good things could happen. So I will say I'll do a 6. I hate it when I don't get closure, when a TV show leaves a plot element on it. Yeah, that's kind of frustrating. I'll put a 5. It takes me a long time to make a firm commitment to someone. Not really. And I get in trouble behind that a lot. I regularly spot coincidences. For example, noticing the time when it's 11:11 a.m. Yeah, I kind of do have little perceptual quirks like that. I'll put a 4. I only trust research or evidence based. I'm going to put a 5. I only trust research or evidence backed up by scientific consensus. No. Experience and anecdotal evidence can go a long way with me. I'll put a 2. I believe that intelligent extraterrestrial life has visited. No, they would have come for me by now. I think it's just us. I mean, I'm not saying remotely it's not possible, but I don't. It's not possible enough for me to take it too seriously or invest too much mental energy into it. I'm careful to only trust credible, fact-based mainstream sources. I mostly trust Twitter. I have this big collection of people on Twitter that I can watch them read and comment on the stories, and I get my stories from multiple sources. So no, I don't think. I think it's important to have credible, fact-checked news sources. They don't necessarily have to be mainstream, but I don't know if we have those currently. So I'm careful to trust a large sampling of sources and people, or I'm careful to make use of a large sampling of sources and people, and tentatively trust my own the take that I can synthesize from that, always being aware of the need to be flexible and alter it when new information comes in or a new perspective on the existing information. And it's really hard today in the social media landscape to know what's going on outside of your immediate environment. So I take a very tentative approach to all of that. So I would say I don't really pay attention to sources, honestly. People post articles all the time. I don't even look at where they come from. So I'm going to put a 1. I strongly believe there are remaining undiscovered lost civilizations such as Atlantis. No. I mean, there might be like the Aztecs or something. I don't think it's something mystical like Atlantis. I don't trust non-Western medicine. I'm skeptical of alternative cures and traditional remedies. Yeah, like in Cajun tradition, we have a tradition of folk healing. It's the traiteurs, the treaters. And a lot of the old people would, when they had an ailment, they would go to these traiteurs and they'd be given cures or treatments, they called it. Sometimes it's a prayer, or certain herbs, or they do a little ritual over you. But that was just like folk superstition to me. Yeah, I guess I am kind of skeptical of all of that. I'll put a 6. Great truths are hidden in the myths and legends of pre-modern people. I think so. By great truths about us as humans. It's the same truths that are hidden in our current movies and stories, TV shows. I don't see any value in oral histories or legends. I mean, I'm part of a in the men's work I do, we use a lot of storytelling. I'm part of a storytelling group. Some of them are passed down orally. No, I think there is value in them because I get value out of them. I'll put a 6. I easily understand spiritual texts, myths, and allegorical stories. Yeah, if you understand myth and know how to read it, there is a sense to it. I only believe in things that can be physically observed and proven to be real, more or less. Yes. Ooh, it's giving me my assessment. Ooh. Guess what? This is the neurology result. And I came up, let me show you. Divergent, 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 neurodivergent. Master ideators, they never run out of ideas. I've talked about that fluency of ideas that I have. Divergents are inherently good at divergent thinking. We're able to form many different possibilities in our head. Exceptionally creative, yet remarkably analytical, outside the box. See things differently from those around them. Highly intelligent, find quick solutions to abstract problems. I love creative problem solving. Extremely expansive in their thinking, always able to take multiple perspectives and factors into consideration, non-judgmental, understand complexities and nuances of life, brainstorm. I love to brainstorm, help people see new concepts, designs, opinions, expand people's world, and impressive, innovative analyzers, always able to connect disparate ideas, connections, correlations, relationships between seemingly unrelated phenomena. There's always a new hypothesis for the divergent. Explore ideas in unique ways, yes. Drawn heavily to media, whether as simple entertainment or as a producer of content. Play with fantastic advice for other people to be able to see opportunities. I do that with clients. I help them see opportunities and get perspectives that they may not have for themselves. The world is beautiful, chaotic place with so many random variables. The randomness allows for exciting change, growth, exploration. We'll frequently seek new opportunities to make our lives more interesting. Yes, road trip. Experiences give them great knowledge of the world and help them understand the different ways it could be. Everyone could have a lot less avenues open to them without the powerful minds of the divergence. So that is my hardware. It's not a neurotypical brain. It's a divergent brain. And then my operating system is the architect. My software is the naturalist, which is the cultural result. My outward packaging of all of that is the adventurer. And my hardware is divergent. So that is the personability system. I've taken all 4 tests. I think I have the link to the website in the description. Once again, tonight, Zoom, 7 p.m. Central. Come and join us. Tomorrow, P.F. Jung show, 9 a.m. Central, after show on Discord afterwards. And also the Waking Life animated philosophy movie tomorrow. So email me for that, primalhex, primalhex at gmail.com. And have a wonderful Friday. Hope to see some of you later this evening. If not, have a great weekend. And we have the 4th coming up. So have a very patriotic and fun holiday. Okay, don't know when I'll show up again or what I'll be up to, but I will catch you then. Yeah.